So he will also be joining us, going through some of the topics and also the discussions around some of the things that we will be talking about. And actually, I should have also mentioned that in the spirit of the reconciliation, Safe System Solutions acknowledge the traditional custodian of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea, and the community. We pay our respect to the elders, past and present, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Island people today. So that is that.
So just a quick,
Just
a quick question. I know Emma Arrow started a recording. Will that recording be distributed to the participants post-session?
Yep. I'm just about to pass it on to Emma so that she can explain some of those things, actually. So perfect timing. So Emma, you want to go through those things?
Yeah, absolutely. Hi and welcome, everyone. We're really excited to be able to have this up and running finally. It's been a long journey, but we're here, so hooray. Yes, we will be recording the session. So if you want to revisit anything that we discuss in the 3 programs, it will be available in Moodle, which is our learning management system, which will also have all the presentations and PowerPoints and any additional resources and things like that will be available. You would have received an email from Safe System Solutions last week with your login details. If you haven't received them, or they often go to junk in a lot of organisations, or they get blocked. So just shoot me an email and I can resend those to you. There's nothing that you need before the session or throughout the session today. So if you haven't received them yet, that's totally fine. Just send me an email after the program and I can certainly resend them to you. But what I'll do is I'll show you about what it's going to look like. This will be all very quick. So I'll just share my screen ever so quickly about Moodle and we'll cover that up first. So this is Moodle, our learning management system. Once you log in, you will have traffic engineering fundamentals on your dashboard. And there's the link to the 3 teams sessions that we have. It is actually the same link. There's some introductions if you want to introduce yourself to the rest of the group and any other resources. So we've got the resources section, which mostly has the agenda and all of that sort of thing. This will be, you just click on the actual tile and it'll bring up each module. So a couple of hours after today's session, under that presentation, module 1 presentation will be the recording of today's session. So if you need to pop out and you've missed anything or you need to finish early or anything like that, you will be able to revisit it all. When we conclude next week, we will require you to complete some course feedback, and once that course feedback completed, you will be able to download your certificate for the program as well. If you do have any other questions around admin or sort of not content necessarily, but yeah, so the admin side of the program, certainly feel free to give me a call or shoot me an email and I can certainly assist with all of that. I think that's probably all I need to say for now, Tuan, so I'll unshare my screen.
That's great. Thanks for that, Emma. So any question for Emma at this stage? Let me just share my screen again. Where is it? That one there? Yeah, and with the recording, just want to also mention that it's only available to the people participating in the program. We're not going to kind of share it with any external people at all. So yeah, now Rohit, maybe Rohit, you can quickly introduce yourself and say a few words.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, I'm Rohit Singh. I'm the principal engineer here in the traffic engineering team at Transport and Main Roads in Queensland. My team looks after the suite of documents relating to traffic engineering, which is the Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices and Austroad's Guide to Traffic Management. We have a lot of technical notes that we issue from time to time. Quite heavily involved of late, the last 2 years, I guess, in the harmonization of what is called the Austroad's Guide to Temporary Traffic Management. Is a 10-part series of documents. So we used to have the Austroad's Guide to Road Safety, Traffic Management and Road Design, and now there's the Austroad's Guide to Temporary Traffic Management. So those of you involved in roadworks, you will see that we've got the harmonized version, which is what we call the Queensland Guide to Temporary Traffic Management. And I've got subject matter experts in my team who look after that, and we update. I'll probably talk a little bit more about the documents and where to find the documents and how to get in touch with us if you have any questions and the like. So, yeah. All right.
Great, thanks for that, Rohit. And just want to say thanks to Rohit and TMR support on this course as well. And it's great to have Rohit here because most of the participants are from council. So if you have any questions, any issue you want to get out, and then let TMR know. I guess this is the opportunity, isn't it, Rohit? I'm sure we will solve all the problems for them.
Yeah, look, I'm sure we can work together in a partnership to solve problems.
All right.
We'll do the best.
Okay, I think that is all the kind of the admin side of thing covered. So now, look, before we start, I thought it's a good idea to kind of introduce ourselves, getting to know each other a little bit more. So on the screen there is a link that you can. Oops, sorry, I went too far. If you are, now I just realized that I got the QR code, but I don't have the link. So sorry about that. Let me do it in the Ctrl+C, Ctrl+V. So I just pasted the link of the website on the screen there. And once you click on that link, you will be able to see a map of Brisbane and what you want to do is let me just share a screen actually so I show you what can be done. But you can go to that screen. There is a plus button at the top right corner that you can now, where is that screen? Welcome introduction. There you go. So I think I've shared that screen. So you should be able to see what's shown there on the screen, and you can click this plus button, and you then drop the pin on where you live. It doesn't have to be exactly where you live. That we don't want to stalk you or anything like that. It's more so that we can see a spread of where you live in the area, so that we can talk about some of the local issue that you may or may not encounter. And then also maybe tell everyone your name, who do you work for, because I think we have council and some consultant people as well, your role within the organization, and what you want to get out of the course. Something very quick and simple. I can see that we've got someone from Cairns, that far north Queensland, someone from Bundaberg as well, which is great. So welcome. I didn't expect that actually. I didn't know someone who actually dialing from Cairns. Haven't been up there lately, but it's a beautiful part of the country. So yeah. So is everyone okay with that? Can you see my screen, and are you able to go in there and click this plus button? The majority of people coming or leaving around Brisbane, I can see there, which is great, because some of the topics that we will be talking about today will be relevant to your day-to-day work, to where you live and what you see, that kind of thing. So we are looking forward to a lot of contributions from everyone throughout the sessions. And actually, in terms of discussing the topics and questions, you can do it either via the chat screen. So Emma and Rohit and me, we keep an eye on the chat screen. So if you have any questions that come in, feel free to put that onto the chat screen, or you can raise your hand as well. Let me go back to my Teams. So when you raise your hand, we will be able to see it, and if I don't see it, I'm sure Emma will remind me, and then you can also talk about the topic, or if you have any question as well. Okay, so I see someone from what is this place? I never been here before. Clonuri, is it?
Cloncurry.
Cloncurry, there you go. Near Mount Isa. No, I've never been to that part of Australia. Have you, Rohit?
I haven't, but it's a good place to go, I hear from my TMR engineers out there.
Right.
Keep asking me to come out there in the middle of summer.
Okay. So we got Cairns, Cloncurry, and the majority of people is living around Brisbane, north, south as well, which is great. So I think if I click on the icon, I can see more information if anyone type. So we've got Ben, the principal engineer working at Ipswich City Council. Yep, refresher of all traffic engineering basic, and it's good. Welcome. Annalie, I just zoom. Actually, let me start off with maybe up north. Justin, Technical Officer Engineering Services, Bundaberg Regional Council. Welcome. We've got 2 person from Cairns. All right. You didn't put in your name, so I don't know who you are, but it's okay. We got 2 person dialing from Cairns, so welcome, and the person over here. There's no name either, but it's all good, all good. And then someone up here, but haven't covered that. Yeah, Justin. And then we've got people from down south. That's great. So we can see that we've got a range of people living. We've got inspection officers as well, which is good. We want to hear some feedback from people on the ground. Now, what about that one? Calling good. Project officer, technical officer. That's good. Welcome. I'm just clicking on these icons to see who else is there. Yeah, so as I said, you can see that we've got a range of people living at different places of Queensland, which is great. And also your background is different because we want to share some of the experiences and observation that we see throughout the session. So that's great. Thanks for that. So I leave the screen on. Now, another piece of exercise, not an exercise, but activity I like to do is also tell us what are the current issue or challenges that you are facing. So let me go back and share the other screen. Share window.
Who's that one out of Kilcoy?
Sorry, what was that? Sorry, what was that? Someone said something?
Who was that person from Kilcoy?
Okay.
Never mind.
Asanka, there you go. Asanka just put in the name there, so
yeah.
Well, there you go. It looks like a lot of people curious about where you are at the moment, which is one day we may have a visit.
Yes. This is Northwest District in Queensland. Yeah, we have TMR office here in Cloncurry. Here I'm working as engineer here.
Right. Okay, that's good. What's special about that place? Anything special that worth a visit?
A little bit hot this area in the summer. Yeah, lot of some minings you can visit and cattle farms and those kind of stuff.
Right, there you go. Thanks for that. Well,
so Thwan, you guys from Victoria should go and hold a session there in summer.
I don't think we want to be there in summer, Rohit. Okay, well that's great. So on the screen there is the next link, which again I failed to put the actual link. I only have the QR code. So let me just go to my Google Chrome and then do a Ctrl+C, and then I put that into the chat screen so that you can just click on it. So there you go. So this screen here is where you can put in all your issue, challenges, or questions that you have throughout the sessions, and we can come back and revisit them, and I will make sure if there are any questions or issue you want to learn, you can we address them throughout the session. And sorry, I forgot to mention that in terms of our training courses, you probably know that we will be doing it over 3 sessions, 1 for today, and then next week we got another 2 sessions on Tuesday and Thursday. So I assume you all got that from the agenda. So if you click on the second link, I just put that on the chat screen, which I'm about to share again. That one there. Oh, sorry, no, that's the PowerPoint. I don't want that. So you can put in your challenges or existing issue that you are facing, and see what sort of topics that. There you go, Google Chrome, that one there. So similar sort of thing, if you go to the bottom right corner, you can click on that button and you can type in the heading of the issue, and it could be a speeding issue, it could be a congestion issue. I know that working for council, you may have a lot of issue related to parking control, or for those who work in construction, you might have some speeding problem, people not slowing down, that kind of thing. So feel free to add those sort of issues or comments on the screen. And as I said, you can keep on adding to this throughout the day. Yes, Rohit?
Would you like people to put their names there too, so we know like which district or which area people are having some issues with, particularly those who might have something that me or my team needs to get back to them about?
Yes, that's a really good idea. Yeah, Rohit. So yeah, as you can see there, Rohit is already offering his assistant to resolve some of your issues. So this is the chance, this is an opportunity. So yeah, look, I leave. Yep, sorry.
So I just got a question, and it's probably across the board, and I would normally put it in chat, but it's more of a general one. Throughout the session, can you possibly elaborate on which standard to use, when and where? With everything engineering, there's usually like 2 or 3 different standards and how to apply. So you've got, I know that there's the MUTCD, but there's also some references to OSRoad as well. So I guess, just gives a bit more info or advice, recommendations on the application of which standard and all that type of stuff.
Yep, no, for sure. I just made a note of that. And actually, just hold on to your question, because in a few minutes I will get Rohit to cover that exact issue actually. So yeah, hold on to your thought, but I made a note of it as well. So yep, okay. So on the screen there, as I said, if you have any other question, issue, or challenges between now and next week, feel free to add them on to the screen. So I will go back to the PowerPoint, share screen, window, and then PowerPoint. Where is it? That one there. Okay, so let's one more thing actually. Throughout the sessions on all 3 days, on some of the slide you will see this traffic cone, and we are going to have a quiz at the end of the session, and one of the questions will be counter cones. How many cones can you see throughout the session? And there will be a couple of questions, and whoever get all the questions right, we will in the quickest time as well, we'll get a prize, and Emma will be taking note of that, of the person who won the prize. And also throughout the session there will be some discussions and questions, and whoever contributed the most, we also get some prizes. So Emma will be posting those prizes out at the end of I think next week. Is that right, Emma? So not today, but at the end of the whole training course. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah, that's right. So once we conclude next week, so probably the week after next will be when our training team will post those out to you.
Yep, that's great. Thanks for that. So yeah, keep an eye on the cones and see how many you can find. So it's kind of like Find Wally, kind of a little fun game. But it's a cone, and this one doesn't count, so don't count this one, okay? All right, so let's get straight to our session. So our training workshop today is about signs and lines. And look, for some people, that sign and line may sound, you know, fairly basic and simple, but we are hoping that once you've done the session, you realize that a lot of the signs and lines play an important role, not only from the legislative legal side of things, but also helping the public, helping motorists, road users, using the road network in a safe and efficient way. So it actually covers a lot more. And some of these things you may have already know. Some you might realize that, oh, okay, I've been seeing this thing for a long time, but I never realized it has this sort of meaning behind it. So that's why we will hope to cover some of these issues throughout the day. And signs and line also play an important role in contributing to or supporting the safe system approach as well. So I assume that most of you have heard of this strategy, or I guess concept that across Australia, all jurisdictions have adopted as a strategy, managing safety as part of road network safe system approach. I assume that people have heard of this concept or principles. And actually, this is the first discussion that I've got for the group. So the safe system is based on 4 pillars or principles, and it is illustrated on this circle here. Does anyone know what those 4 principles are? And you don't look at your note, because let me double check. I don't think I include the answer into note, but does anyone know what those 4 principles or pillars are? If you do, just put them onto the chat screen. So there are 4 principles that make up the safe system approach that's being adopted by the jurisdictions, and also part of the road safety strategy. And what we are going to talk about, signs and line, contribute to one of those principles or pillars. Anyone at all? Whoever posts the first comment, get a prize that may help to kickstart the discussion. You can have a guess. Oh, there you go. Jad said something. Save vehicles, save people, save road, and you forgot a 4th one. But that's correct. So you got save vehicles, save people, save road. So Emma, maybe make note of Jad.
Absolutely. Prize for Jared.
Jared, that's right. So save speed. Well, let's see whether that is correct. All right, let me go back to my PowerPoint and review the answer. There they are. So the 4 pillars are safe roads, safe speed, safe people, and safe vehicles. So Jared is correct. Well done. So those are the 4 principles that we that jurisdiction and as practitioner we try to work towards with an overall objective of reducing the number of deaths and serious injury on our road. And one of the the other few kind of principle or premises about this safe system is recognizing that people, human like ourselves, we make mistake. And when we are using the road network, the road system, people will make mistake in the result, depend on the circumstances. But we don't want people to sustain an injury that is, I guess, unacceptable. So there is that duty of care to an extent to make sure that, well, for the people who are managing the road network, which I assume most of us are, we are aware of these principles so that we can achieve that objective. And that's it, and you can see it on the screen. I'm not going to read them out, but we know that as human, we're actually quite fragile, and when we might not realize it, but when there is a crash, in particular involving high speed, our body cannot get much injuries at all. What else is there on the screen? So when we design or manage the road network, for those who work in maintenance, for example, we got to be aware that you got to make sure the road environment is safe. And in terms of signs and line, it will contribute to the safer road component, in particular because they are part of the road network, what people see and use. And the last dot point there, talking about when we manage signs and line, we've got to make sure it's clear and consistent to help people navigating the road network. Any question on that at this stage about the safe system? So as I said throughout the session, if you have any questions, just put them onto the chat screen or raise your hand. Now, this is a quick video that I found on YouTube of some of the crashes that occur in Australia, and have a look, and then we spend a few minutes kind of discussing some of these crashes and see how whether they can be prevented. So I would just click play. That is the same crash, just in slow motion and different angle. And I know this intersection not far from where I live in Melbourne, actually. Now that person just took off, ran a red light. Ooh. So that was the last one. So yeah, those are some of the example of crashes that sometimes we came across. And look, a lot of the time when I was working as a traffic engineer, we look at these things and say, oh, it just human error, that kind of thing. Oops, sorry. But do you think that there may be an element that if you are working as a road manager, is there an opportunity to do something to perhaps prevent these crashes from happening? So for example, the first one here, just move back and forth. The first one is about this red car here. So this person is going straight, and this person is approaching a crossing section with a give way control sign there, and the person appeared to just went straight through. Well, we can blame the person that the person was careless, but is there an engineering solution? Is there a opportunity to do something that could have prevented that crash from happening? If you have any thoughts, put onto the chat screen or raise your hand. The second one is about this car turning right and failed to give way. Again, is it the person's fault, or maybe the road wasn't designed appropriately? And what's the next one? So the same one. The next one, as I said, I know this intersection quite well, and I assume that there will be some intersection that have this sort of arrangement, and you can guess why this happened, right? I mean, you got 3 lanes of through traffic, and that truck there obscured the side distance from this driver from seeing the car coming from the leftmost lane, and sorry, not a blue car, the white car, and he or she clearly didn't see the car coming from behind the truck, and you got a side impact crash. And this person here, he or she just ran a red light. I mean, is there something we can do? And in the last one, this person changing lane and hitting a cyclist. So Jason is saying a traffic island. So which one you are talking about, Jason? Which crash? Is that the first one? where maybe, let me just go back a bit, perhaps a traffic island might have helped preventing the crash from happening? Is that what you are suggesting? Which could be a legitimate solution. Or I'm thinking out loud, I mean, I just got this from YouTube, or maybe this sign was obscured by a tree or something. I mean, there's a tree there at the front. Maybe as you're approaching the intersection, the tree covered the sign. Don't know. Jared, in the last one, better provision for cyclists, cycle lane. Yes, exactly. As traffic engineers or as road managers, perhaps there is something that we can do to improve the safety for cyclists. This is up north somewhere in Queensland. I don't know the exact. Actually, there's a sign there. Let's see whether we can read it. Coggin Crossing, William something. I'm pretty sure this is in Queensland somewhere, but I don't know the location. But yeah, Jared is correct. You know, from an engineering point of view, we certainly can provide better infrastructure for cyclists. It's a good mode of transport as well. Any other comments, thoughts? So yeah, so as I said, when you encounter this sort of issue, you can brush it off and say that, look, you know, it's human error. Now, with this particular situation, following a number of crashes that have been reported, and this is in Melbourne, the Department of Transport actually came up with a couple of warning signs, placing on the median over here, saying that, look, watch out that when you turn right, there may be cars behind other vehicles that you may or may not see. So that was kind of a solution. I'm not aware of any evaluation or study to see whether that sign helped the situation. But you know, that there are tools that we can tap on to reduce the risk of these sort of crashes. Jason also said in the first one, the sun is an issue. Oh yeah, well there you go. I did notice that actually. Let's go back and have a quick look. Yeah, so that is a very good pickup, Jason. I never thought of that, but yeah, the sun might be in front of the driver, so the driver couldn't see the intersection as he or she approaching it. Yeah, that's a good point. And talking about the sun, it came up recently. I've got some query from council saying that, look, when the sun is in front of us, we can't really see. Can we do anything about it? I couldn't come up with any clear solutions actually. So does anyone here have any experience with sun glaring? For those who've been to Melbourne, we've got the Westgate Bridge, which kind of running east-west to an extent, and that there will be time of a certain time of the year where when you use the bridge, the sun is literally right in front of you, and I experienced that myself. And normally the advice I tell people is, you know, hopefully as a driver, you take precautions and you slow down, and you know, you got to make sure you see what in front of you. But there were suggestions talking about, you know, putting up more sign, telling people that glaring is an issue, or you know, some other solutions. But I haven't found a silver bullet to address that issue myself. So if anyone know of any solution, let us know. So Chris is saying that maybe they need to be reviewed to road rules and obtain their license. Okay, well that's right. I mean, I've seen a lot of people who, to me, don't know how to drive, but they've got a driver license. Driver behavior is a problem when environment issue are the problem. Yes, that's right. That's right. So a lot of these things, and actually, I didn't have it in the presentation, but I had it in another one talking about there's statistics saying that, look, a lot of crashes, I think it's 80% of crashes has a human factor in it. So yeah, we play a very a significant role in causing these sort of crashes. But on the other hand, we are human, you know, that's what the safe system is about. We are human and we will make mistakes. We learn from it. It's more about, you know, if you make a mistake, you shouldn't pay the kind of ultimate price of losing your life or having something very serious injury. Kurt has an idea of allowed tinting on vehicle windscreen. Yeah, I remember some of the cars I used to own has that thick tinting at the top part of the windscreen, isn't it? So it does help to an extent. But yeah, a lot of the time, you can't really do much. It's just nature. You kind of have to live with it and take care and do the sensible thing to avoid any undesirable outcome. And also another thing is when I talk to these people, I say that look, it is an issue, but it can disappear fairly quickly anyway. So like you drive past that section of the road, you might encounter that glaring issue, but like a few seconds later, when you keep on driving, that's not an issue anymore. So go back to a bit of common sense and experience as well. Jason also talked about what solution is to have one-way street with no intersection. That would be nice. That would be nice. Okay, so that's great. Thanks for that. Let me just keep going. All right, so that was, I guess, a bit of a quick overview and introduction about some of the issue that we are encountering and also some of the things that we will be talking about today in the next two sessions. So the next topic is, so I quickly mentioned earlier that Signs and Line, most of you are probably aware that apart from providing that information to motorists, it also has some regulatory requirements and meaning behind it. And the next few slides, I will get Rohit to actually talk about those things. So Rohit, are you still there? I just heard something from Rohit, so I can see Rohit still here. Rohit, you there? Can you hear me? Rohit? Sorry about this. Rohit might be. Can you hear me? So Matt is saying screen myself with glare issue. Screen? What do you mean by screen, Matt? So like screen on the structure itself, or screen? I assume that you're talking about having screen on the structure or on the road, or are you talking about screen installed?
So say for example, on the edge of the road corridor, if you've got the sun dipping below a certain level, you could either place like some kind of screen or even some trees outside the crash zone or outside the clear zone. You'd have to consider the placement of it and whether it's actually introducing a roadside risk. If you can actually just block out that glare at a certain time of day.
Yeah, that's actually a good possible solution. So I'm thinking of noise wall as well. So as I've been driving on the motorways, there are sections where there's noise wall, which can act as that screen as well. That can help blocking the sun. So yeah, that's a good one. I make note of that. Like a billboard or something like that. Yep, that's right. So that's really good idea. So I learned something already that we can share these sort of thoughts with other people. All right, Rohit. Yep, you're back. Thank you. So I was just saying that.
To refill my glass.
Okay. Oh, good. Oh, good. Okay. Well, I get you to talk a bit about the compliance and I think one of the questions was, the standards, which one to use, that kind of thing.
Yep. Okay. You have got control of the slides, so I'll just get you to go through the slides and I'll try and go through it very quickly. But what I'll do then is to present my screen where I will show people where things are on our website. So, okay. So in Queensland, we've got those various documents, the MUTCD, the QGTM now, and the QGTTM. So these documents are governed under the Totem Act. The Act is the principal, the primary document. The regulations, of course, are below the Act. So the Act requires that official traffic signs in Queensland must be installed in a way that is specified in the MUTCD. And the MUTCD is also defined in the Act itself, and that is the document that is issued by the the term that's used is the chief executive of TMR, which is our Director General. And that's why in Queensland, we don't necessarily simply say, well, follow the Australian standards. We write our own MUTCD. And in the past, where we used to simply copy, I guess, the Australian standards, and then we used to sell those documents. And for those people who have the old documents, you'll see, they've now not been updated since about 2014, 15, 16, I think. We progressively started harmonizing our documents, and I'll take you through the website to show you how it is and how the documents get used. We also have a section, again, in the Act itself, Section 166, which talks about the design, the method, the standard and procedure of an official traffic sign. And that allows us, or the Director General and the Director General's delegates, and there are quite a number of people within the organization who have that delegated authority to issue official traffic signs. So most of the TC signs or the Q series signs that we've got, you'll see has got a signature down there. It used to be Ken Broadhurst, who was principal engineer here before me. There's a lot of signs there that get issued under my signature. John Douglas, who was director here before, I think one recently through other directors as well. We let them also issue signs. So an official traffic sign, again, is also defined in the Act itself as it's not just the sign, it is a sign, a marking, and a line marking is an official traffic sign, your stop or your give way. Line marking, your lane lines, your barrier lines, they're all signs. A light, which is a traffic signal, or a device, and that could be, say, a boom barrier. Placed or erected to regulate, warn, or guide traffic. So these are all covered in the Primary Act. Okay, Thwan, next. You there, mate? Yep. So the MUTCD, as I said, is issued under the Section 72A of the Taurus Act. And the hierarchy of documents was probably a question that Matt had asked before. So we've got the MUTCD as your primary document. That's your document for signs and lines. Now, I'm not talking about for those who may be designers in here and use the road planning and design manual. That's a different thing. And that also probably has links to the Austroads Guide to Road Design. There's the road safety series and those people who do speed limit setting, for example. There's the MUTCD Part 4, and very soon it'll change to the Austroads Guide to Road Safety Part 3, which will have the methods for setting speed limits. The signs and the devices will remain in Part 4, which will be harmonized to the Australian Standard Part 4. So 12 of the parts have already been harmonized. The only ones that are not harmonized, and I'll show you on the website, is Part 2, which will be hopefully done this year. I'm looking at possibly November. And Part 4 is also scheduled for harmonizing in November this year. Non-harmonized parts are those Parts 2 and 4. Currently, we're not amending the parts itself. So what we're doing is issuing supplements. That'll all go away from hopefully November. Okay. So the signs for use in Queensland that are not or not to be used in Queensland, we've listed it down in our Part 1, and the harmonized bit basically says which ones we've accepted for use in Queensland. There are certain ones where we've just said not accepted for use in Queensland, and I think one of the very ones that come to mind is probably left turn left after stopping. I think the only one there was a trial that was given to the City of Gold Coast and the Brisbane City Council, where they did the trial, and then I think after the trial they've removed the signs. Signs specific to Queensland, we've got two numbering systems there. We've got the TC sign, which generally gets issued for use just about anywhere. We also have the MUTCD Q series sign, and the Q series sign is something that's just what we call a derivative of an Australian standard sign. So we do have an Australian standard number, and we try and link it up to the same number. So, for example, the keep left sign is, I think, the R2-3 sign, which is your normal 450 by 600. We find, and particularly with councils, where you've got very narrow medians, you're not able to put the wide sign, so we've got some narrow, and keep left is written vertically on that sign. Those ones have been issued a number of R2-3-Q01, and if we have another variation to that, we'll give it a number Q02, things like that. All signs are available on the TMR website, and I'll show you just after this. If there is a request for a sign, now there are certain signs that we don't keep on the web itself. We do keep it internally. So you can always put in a request for a sign that you are not able to find on the TC signs, or issued as a Q series sign, in which case clause 1.9 of the part 1 of our Queensland MUTCD gives you guidelines on how you can make the request. You've got to write a bit of a story. Tell us a story about why existing signs don't work and why you need this special sign to be done. And it always helps if the sign has been used in some other jurisdiction successfully. And the jurisdiction doesn't necessarily have to be within Australia. It could be quite successfully used in European countries or even the US, as long as we know that it has been used, and therefore drivers would be used to such signs. We're happy to consider that. We have had in the past people simply writing in to our traffic engineering mailbox asking for a sign, in which case we've got to go back and say, well, if you give me justification, we'll consider it. And it's not only a decision for me and my team. We do hold what is called a traffic management practices group meeting, because a request from one local government will have an impact on another local government if we develop a sign. And we certainly don't want a situation where, let's say, if Ipswich City Council, and I think Mary Torres is the one who used to attend meetings from there, she comes in, requests for a sign. I don't want to be able to give Ipswich a sign and then find that the neighbouring councils want some deviation of that sign and don't agree with the sign that's been issued. So we'll try and take it through a process of consultation with other TMR district engineers and other local government engineers. We certainly have a process for trialing. TMR does advocate innovation, and we'd like people to come up with new ideas, new ways of controlling traffic if the existing systems are not working, and particularly to do with road safety. If there is a new method of traffic control that can result in reduced road trauma. And if we don't know about it, we'd certainly like to hear from you guys who want to trial it. And again, there's a clause in part 1 of MUTCD which tells you the sort of information that you are required to submit to us so we can make an informed decision. Okay, next. So just talking about the Australian standard and the Austroads guides, very quickly, 14 parts of the Australian standard plus 1743, which is basically a deposit of or repository of all road signs. It's got all the dimensions and sizes and what have you, corner radiuses, border widths, and all of that. The design is in there. 1744 is the font that's being used. There's the Austroads guides, and there is the guide to road safety as well, Thwan, that's missing from there. The MUTCD. So my team looks after the MUTCD, the supplements, the QGTTM, Austroads supplements to the QGTM, TC signs. We've got fact sheets on our website, some technical notes that we issue, and technical notes are temporary stuff that we might have received a request for. So initially, for example, the electric vehicle signing a few years ago, the minister announced the electric vehicle superhighway that went all the way from Gold Coast to Cairns, and we had to come up with some guidelines about signing, and that was issued as a tech note to allow the project delivery team to go and install it. Went through my TMPG to get views of the councils and TMR districts. And following that, we've now included it in part 6 of the Queensland MUT-City. And obviously there's some specifications that we look after, more to do with line marking, RRPMs and the like. Okay, next one, please. So the MUT-City 14 parts, the only part that my team doesn't look after is part 4, but I think that'll change from November. We will take ownership of part 4 as well. At the moment, part 4 is looked after by TMR's, what is called the Safer Roads Infrastructure Team, which is for those people who do set speed limits. You might have come across Paul Gotke and Michael Gillies and them. And the 2 non-harmonized parts are parts 2 and 4. We're hoping to have them harmonized in November, in which case we'll have all Queensland MUT-City harmonized. Next, please. Okay, so the updates to Australian standards, the current one, and Thuan and I were in meetings all day Tuesday and Wednesday, just going through some of these documents. Part 0 is a new glossary of terms document. Australian standards used to have a standard 1348, which used to be a glossary of terms. I can't remember which committee looked after it, but they decided to withdraw that. Austroads has got an Austroads glossary of terms, and then the committee that Thuan and I are on, which is the MS12 committee, looks after 1742 series of documents, 1743 and 1744. That committee came up with a decision that we probably should have a glossary of terms for our standards. So that's what we've been working on. We've been through a committee process. It'll come out for public consultation, and normally I let all the council reps on my TMPG know when the standards are out for public consultation. I do encourage everyone to actually participate in the public comment stage, so that we can get everyone's views. Part 2, which is one of the parts that currently is not harmonized in Queensland. We're just waiting for the Australian standards to be published. It's gone through the public consultation stage. It's going through committee stage to try and finalize. And I think the next stage will be editing by Standards Australia, and then balloting through all the members of the committee. And once that's done, it'll be published. And hopefully it's done well in advance so that we can harmonize in November. Part 10 on the pedestrian control, that's also getting updated, reviewed. And part 13 on LATM, that one's, I think, already been through public consultation. Thuan, has part 10 gone through public consultation, or was it part 13?
I think part 13. That's coming out this week, I think.
I think that was Gary's.
Yeah.
Gary's. Okay, yes. So part 13 has gone through public consultation. That should also come out to the committee for the committee to go through, and then be balloting and all that. So hopefully this year sometime. Okay. So accessing the TMR documents now, Thuan, this is where I'd like to present from my screen. So rather than going through there, it'll be an active thing.
I think you can just Click on the
I'll
share
just click
button,
on
right?
share. Now, where's the share button?
Up top somewhere.
Share, there you go.
Yep.
Share. And I want to share that screen. Okay. All right. Okay. So not the internal users from TMR. This is external users when you come in. So this is the internal users of TMR. That's what they see. So I'll just get onto the TMR external website for those who would be working for councils and industry. All our documents, if you haven't been there, it's very straightforward. We go to business and industry. From there, there's a whole lot of things there, but we do have a tab for technical documents. You access our technical publications. There's a whole lot of documents here. I'll go through mine first, which is traffic. And we have, so we got some registered products. These are products, for example, road edge guideposts, RRPMs, and the like, and they're all listed in here. What it means, the sign sheeting, for example. So these are the products that meet the various TMR specs or Australian standards for which Australian standards exist. What it means is you can use the products that are listed in here, knowing that they have, or the product suppliers have demonstrated compliance with an Australian standard or a TMR specification. There are standard drawings and the like. There are guidelines here. We have traffic engineering guidelines, and in all of this, I'd probably say everyone should look at amendment registers where we list all the amendments that we have made to any particular guideline. There's a guideline there for traffic management for works on roads, for roadside signs and equipment, tourist and service signs. Just getting back, the MUTCD, and that's all. There's a whole lot of things that are listed there. Again, the amendment register is always there. Have a look at that one to see what amendments we've been making. It's all listed. So we have 3 amendment cycles per year in March, July, and November. And well, can't remember, probably from 2016, we've got the whole list of the amendments that have been made in each publication cycle. The parts that have been harmonized over there and non-harmonized 2 parts down there. I'll probably just pick on that one and quickly go through. So for those people who are familiar with harmonization, probably might find it a little bit boring, but for those who are not familiar with harmonization, this is what we've said is within the meaning of this document, we've said what is accepted, which means the Australian standard clause is accepted in totality. We have some clauses which will say accepted with amendments, which means there may be a part that we haven't accepted, and that may be a deletion or an addition to that clause. A new means there is no equivalent section in the Australian standard and we've just added something new. And what we haven't accepted from the standards, for which we haven't created any new content, we've simply said not accepted. We do have a documents relationship map that we give, and it links to what is the Workplace Health and Safety Act, the TORUM, and in this particular case, because you've got traffic controllers who come under the accreditation and other provisions in here, and how they link with the Queensland standards, the national guidelines, and our guidelines and specifications. So all the references are given there.
Sorry, Rohit.
Yep.
Rohit, sorry, can you go up to that map? Because I think there was a question earlier about which standards or which guide we need to use. And I think that map kind of explained that, isn't it? Like in terms of the hierarchy of which document to use, is that right?
This one is very particular to our part 3, which is works on roads. So what we're saying is you've got the the Queensland documents always come up here on top, because you've always got to go to the Queensland MUTCD to see, and that's what I was coming to the next page. I'll show you what we've accepted, what we haven't accepted, or where we've departed. And then if we have accepted, you've got to go and access the Australian standard then. And all our guidelines and stuff sit in below that. So you can't directly, and if an Australian standard makes a reference, I'll just go in here. So let's say, you know, these are just definitions, but that's what we've done, is accepted with amendments. I don't think there's anything in this one. There's a new one in there. It's 1.3 is all definitions, and therefore in Queensland we've defined the engineer because of the RPEQ requirements, which is probably not in the Australian standard. Anything about innovation, the legal authority, any training, because we do have different training here in Queensland for people who work on roads, and how we vary treatments using RPEQ certification. These are new things. These are all accepted, which means we don't have anything written in our standards for that, and a new thing. So there's a whole lot, yeah. So if we've accepted something, let's say this clause 474, and in the Australian standard, if clause 474 of the Australian standard then makes reference and says, well, for more information, go and look at a clause in here somewhere, another clause, it means you have to go and look at the Queensland MUTCD to make sure that we have also accepted the referenced clause, because there may be things that perhaps it makes a reference to a clause where we do have some amendments. It's a little bit cumbersome, but that's just the way we could manage it. So that's the documents, and you'll find that our Queensland MUTCD is very thin, because the only thing that's listed in the Queensland document are the departures from the Australian standard, and everything else you have to go and see the Australian standard for. Okay, getting back to this one. So that's where our documents are kept. For questions, we do have a link here to the trafficengineering.support mailbox, and that is looked after by my team. What you can also do is to subscribe to receive any email alerts. So every time during the 3 publication cycles, if we have updated any of these documents, if you have subscribed to receive alerts, you will be notified which document has been amended or something has happened on this page. Even if we make changes somewhere here in this little text box that we have, you'll be notified. Okay, so that's all our traffic engineering stuff in there. I'd encourage everyone to go and have a look at that one. For those people who are keen cyclists, there's a whole lot of pedestrian or cycling guidelines in here. There is another team within our traffic engineering team. There's a team leader, Mark McDonald. Some people may have been communicating with him, but you will find a whole lot of information in there relating to pedestrians and cyclists, active transport users. Across on this side are popular links. Like you said, we have specifications. There are standard drawings that are issued by TMA, and this is all standard drawings. So culverts and drainage and what have you, links to the MUTCD, which will take you down there, the signs, tech notes, and the register of products. So in tech notes, I don't know, in traffic engineering, 195 is one that we have done recently for people who work on roads. There's some for pedestrian delays, which Mark's team has done. Placement and operation of temporary variable message sign, again for use on roadworks. That shade along paths for pedestrians. So it's all in here. Yellow box marking is another one that I think some councils may have used to get rid of congestion within the signalized intersections. All right, how are we going for time, Tuan? Not eating into your morning tea time, is it?
I don't think we're going to have morning
No.
time, but
Right.
yeah.
And then just where the signs are kept. So the Q series signs are in there. The TC signs are in here. You can download the full collection, or I think now most people probably do that with 4G and 5G and whatever NBN connectivity. In the past, people were having slow internet, and therefore they'd probably go and download each category separately. You can go and search for things in here. So if you type in it, if you know a TC sign number, for example, you can simply go and type in this one didn't work. Why? It's not a very good one. It's not working.
You have to press enter or something so for to search or not. Should come up.
Maybe that's not a number we've issued. Which one can I remember? I can't remember any number.
Let me see.
That one. Well, it should work. I'll have to see why it's not. Oh no, it's in here.
No, it came up, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, claim 7. Sorry, it comes up here where it is. It's in the signing and payment marking one. Yeah, and then you just go and download that one. All right, well, that's probably enough from me, unless there are questions in the chat line or anyone wants to particularly ask a question.
All right, thanks for that, Rohit. Any question at this stage for Rohit? If not, as I said, you can always put in your questions or comments in the chat screen, or also on the Padlet screen that I shared earlier. All right, thanks for that, Rohit. Let's keep going. So thanks for that. Hopefully that has been helpful to some of you, knowing where to find the information. Okay, so moving on. So in the next few slides, I will be talking about the introduction to signs and pavement markings, and we go into each category separately. So we see a lot of road signs on our road network, and looking at the map, you indicated to me where you live. I'm sure when you drive around, you see lots of them. Sign is one of those funny things that that scientifically was proven that if you don't look for them, you never see them. One exercise that I was going to suggest you do is have a think about how many signs you reckon you see on your trip from home to work, and then the next day just have a look and see how many signs you think there are and how many signs actually are out there. The hint is there's a lot of them. When you start looking for them, you see them everywhere. So in terms of managing these signs, we have different types. So we group them into different types, and on the screen there are the 9 types that I slowly click the screen to show them. So we got the regulatory type signs that usually on a white background, and we will have several slides on each of these type of sign in a minute. And then you've got the guide sign, which is telling people where to go, providing directions, prohibitions, stopping you from doing certain things, warning sign on a yellow background, tourist type sign on a brown background, a temporary sign at road work site, which is yellow as well, and traffic instruction telling people what to do, merge left, merge right, and then you've got a blue sign showing the services or information on this sort of sign, and you've got this special group that's showing, we call them hazard markers, with the chevron as shown. So these are the 9 different groups, and when we design, when we catalog them, we put them into the right group, just like what Rohit showed you earlier. There are different groups that you go in and find the right sign that you are looking for. In terms of pavement marking, we also have various types. You got the longitudinal type line along the road. You got the transverse type at give way and stop signs. You got other type like the painted island, the arrow marking, a special use lane, where there's a bus lane, bicycle lane, that type of lane. Also RPMs, raised retroreflective pavement markers, providing delineation to motorists, which I think next week we have a few slides about this in terms of the standards and color. So why it is important to have signs and like complying with standards. I mean, I mentioned earlier that it does have a role apart from regulatory requirements. You got to do what you got to do under legislation, but it also contributed to providing a safer road environment for road users. And it has also these sort of benefits, as you can see there, ensuring consistency, reduce driver confusion, reduce design installation costs, because if you have a consistent and uniform design, you can order the same type of sign, and it can help reduce the number of crashes. Now this photo here, I took it myself. Anyone notice anything not quite right in this picture? Feel free to put on the chat screen. It'll be subtle, so I'm not sure whether people can pick it up. Anyone? I took this photo, I think, in Rockhampton sometimes, not last year. The gate, what do you mean the gate? The gate there? Yeah, no, that's all right. That gate is provided so that people can, the landowner can go in there and maintain the grass. The size, no, not necessarily the size. Should be at least 2 more of the same. They could do with more. But actually what's kind of not quite right is if you look at that hazard board, if for those who know the standards, and as I say, it's a bit tricky, this one, but the standard sign actually should have another white panel at the end. So for some reason, and this is the strange thing, one of the questions that I've seen from the Padlet is what sort of common errors that we see out there. They vary, and some of them I kind of scratching my head, because like for this one here, I just don't understand why whoever, I guess council, when they ordered the sign manufacturer didn't supply the full sign. It's just missing one panel. Is it because they're trying to cut costs, less aluminium, or whatever reason? But Australian standard and MUTCD clearly say that it needs to be 1800 by 400, and it's got to be 4 black stripe and 5 white stripe, but there's only 4 here for some reasons. So these sort of peculiar kind of things that you see out there in the road network. So in terms of signing principle, there are kind of 7 C's that we kind of try to share. So they are conspicuous, clear, comprehensible, credible, consistent, compliant, concise. I mean, I'm not going to explain each one, but those are the objectives or the principles that we try to get to when we manage or design or maintain the road, because I mentioned this a few times, it got legal significance. You've got to make sure to comply with standards. So if there is an incident, you can justify your decision. Now, a few other notes, signs. Throughout my career, I know that sign is the first thing that engineers or practitioners often rely on to solve a problem, because they're relatively cheap in terms of coming up with a solution. But remember that only use it only when there is a demonstrated need. Overloading driver with too much information will dilute that intention that you have, and in particular, a lot of the problems you can't really solve by putting a sign. This is another photo that I took when I was up there. Again, not last year, the year before, before COVID times. I was driving along, and you see this sort of sign: take care, high crash zone, next 60 kilometers. And any comments on that? Because to me, it's a sign that TMR. Sorry, Rohit. Someone TMR decided to put it in, but as a road user, it doesn't give me a lot of information. It kind of say, all right, take care. But what do I do? I mean, this is a 100k highway. Do I slow down? Do I watch out for certain things? What do you do? That kind of thing. And then I kept going, and at a different location, I see these sort of signs. And to me, this is a much better design sign because it's a high crest zone, which is a similar message to the previous sign. But it kind of gives me a bit more information that it could be slippery. That's a motorcycle symbol, so it could be slippery for motorcyclists and for cars. And I might need to reduce my speed. Similarly, I've got this sign here that said that, look, there's a downhill grade, and then the road is winding. So it gives road users a bit more information of what the risks are, so they know what to do. The photo on the right-hand side says use low gear, again providing that information to truck drivers. So Jason is saying that you see it and then you forget about. Yeah, exactly. Like that sign there, as I said, it's the next 60 kilometers. That's a long length of road, and it tell me that, yeah, look, take care. But what do I do? Like it doesn't give me that full context. And to go back to these sort of principles, whether it's clear, and then certainly I think that sign there failed a clear test to me as the driver when I was up there, and this is a much better example. Some other examples that I see as I drive around. What about here? Any comments about the designing arrangement at this location? I think it's pretty obvious, but if you don't want to say anything, just put into the chat screen. I think it's pretty obvious, so it's probably won't wait for any comments here, but certainly on the left-hand side here, there are so many signs pretty close to each other. Exactly. So Paul and Tan, you are both right. I mean, and looking at the left-hand side, there's so many messages. You got the speed limit sign, which to me is a fairly important one, but it is diluted by other signs. You got the Story Bridge. Yeah, look, that's a bridge name, but perhaps that's not as important as the speed limit sign. And then you got trucks and load like this, and the low clearance is also another important one. And you can see that that again, TMR, not picking on you, Rohit, but you can see that they realize that there's so much information. So the next sign that they put in, they try to increase the conspicuity by, for example, in this case, you can see that they put in flashing lights as well. And then if there's another sign, what do? You're kind of running out of options, isn't it? And then for me, it would be much better if someone have a look at the whole set of signs and think about which one is most important and try to rationalize it or declutter it, like Paul said. All right, now this is an interesting one. Some of you probably know this location, but I leave this one on the screen for a minute and see whether anyone pick up anything unusual or wrong or not quite right in this image that I took. On my screen, the image is a little bit small, but I assume that on your screen you can zoom in, and you got the PDF here now anyway, so you can zoom in and see, have a look. Jared, difference in allowable height clearance signs. Yeah, very good eyes, that's right. If you look at it closely, the sign here that say clearance ahead is 5 meters, but the next one is say 5.2. So if I put that there, and if I'm not wrong, this sign is still out there. And Rohit knows about it, but I don't know which region is responsible. Oh no, actually it might be Brisbane City Council. But when I saw this, I thought, geez, that's a fairly big inconsistency. It to me, what do you think? I mean, now you see it. The next time you drive through this location, you will see the signs still there. You know, what do you think? I mean, for me, it's fairly confusing, and it could be I don't know, it could be quite dangerous, because if a truck driver is at 5.1 high, for example, and the person might be new to the area, approaching this location, and the driver see two different messages. What should he or she do? I mean, like, do they stop, or do they just take a risk and go straight through, or what should they do? So again, to me, it felt that one of those signing principle, which is probably credible. You know, like, it's probably lose credibility here. It's not compliant, perhaps even. So I still don't know what the story is, why there are two different values for the height clearance. If anyone know anything, let me know. Another photo that I took in Townsville, and this is a pretty notorious at airport, actually, because the airport is managed by the federal government, and my experience is that they don't tend to, or they don't like to follow standard. They do their own things. But I remember this is the 50K road, and you got probably 2 seconds to you know, whoever put the sign up is expecting the driver within that 2 seconds to read, you know, 12 different destinations and figure out whether the person needs to turn left or go straight. So yeah, it's one of those things that again failed that signing principle test. That you'd think that it's a good idea to provide this information, but in reality, it's not practical. Nobody will be able to read this much information and make a decision within that 2-3 seconds that you've got driving past the sign. Very small font, yes, that's right. And actually, you are right. This is not the standard font that they should be using. I think in the next few slides, I will cover this font type that should be used on road sign, and this is definitely not the right font. Now, I also took this photo in Brisbane Tunnel, and I swear in the next few kilometers, I saw no water at all. So I don't know why, as a operator of the tunnel, they haven't realized that, you know, the water probably was there maybe the day before or whenever, I don't know. And even, I don't know, because you don't normally get a lot of water in the tunnel, do you? But yeah, I don't know why the message was there. Very interesting. So again, that the fail credibility test there, telling motorists something that they don't see. Okay, so the next few slides we'll cover another topic about sign at night. So when we put in signs, it needs to be seen by road users, and there are people driving at night. So in the past, this is just some of the example that I found on the internet, how in the past people try different ways to make the sign more conspicuous at night. So that one there, the bottom left, it's internally illuminated. And then this one here that I used to put actually, you know, little lights in the letter itself, hoping that people can see it at night. Someone came up with this LED treatment as well. Look, fortunately nowadays we have a retro-reflective sign shielding material, which most of you probably know. It is specially designed so that for car headlights, when the light hit that sign, the light will bounce back and make it a lot more clearer and visible to drivers. I guess the point here is, and there are different types as well. Just very quickly, there are 3 types that should be using. The one that most commonly used is probably class 400 that council use for most of your signs. The class 1100, oh, where's my cursor? The class 1100 is more for motorways used, and class 100, which is the old class 2, is more for parking signs. So yeah, actually council will be using a lot of those as well. But yeah, look, the reason for having and checking that retro reflectivity is for signs that not maintained properly, and this is an example where during the day the sign looked fine, but at night when that sign has lost that retroreflectivity properties, you can't really see anything. It's kind of useless in this case. And look, all signs, when you order them nowadays, offer 15 years warranty. So within that time, they should be performing quite well. But as we all know, these signs are placed out there, much longer than 15 years. And look, there are always budgetary constraints for those who work in the maintenance area. But I guess it's a matter of prioritizing and try to identify the critical signs and making sure they are repaired and maintained properly. This is another example that I saw up in Townsville as well, I think. That sign there, to me, is a fairly critical sign, telling motorists that there is a crossing, you're approaching a crossing, which may have train running across. I mean, there's a boom gate, but it's one of those signs that I thought, it will be worth replacing so that people at night can see them clearly. It's a very important sign. Yeah, look, talking about font, was it Paul? No, sorry, not Paul. Tan picked it up that the font used at the Townsville Airport wasn't correct, and you are right. For the font, you got to make sure you use the Australian standard font type, and there are 6 series: B, C, D, E, and F. And the difference is, the higher the series, the wider the spacing between letters. And this is an example of what the different series look like. I took this in Brisbane City Council, and again, another example of people designing signs, not knowing the right font to be used. And it is important to use the right font because, people may say, look, why can't I just use, Arial or Times New Roman? But there is actually a lot of research and studies around fonts. Look, lower speed environment, it may not be critical, but higher speed roads, you want to make sure that people can see and read the sign from a long distance. And the font actually came, the one that we are using in Australia, we adopt the American font that they developed. And a lot of these design standards, they are applicable around the world because we are all human. When we drive, we see the same thing. So we don't have to reinvent the wheel. A lot of the time we take leverage from other countries, the UK, Europe, or the American, and we adopt some of the standards that they develop. Excuse me. So Rohit probably touched on this earlier, talking about how signs are numbered on name in Queensland. It's based on the different types I mentioned earlier. You've got the regulatory, warning, guide, temporary, and we just use the first letter to indicate the type of sign that sign belongs to which group, and then the Queensland specific sign, we have the Q in front of it. Now, this convention, good to know that this convention is standard across the whole country. So if you move to a different state, or if you work in a different state, when you ring up the sign manufacturer and you quote that number, you will get the same sign. Doesn't matter which state you live. And that's another benefit of complying with standards. You know what you are going to get. Another example of sign. Yep.
One.
Yes, Rohit.
Just go back to that sign. I think there's a very interesting thing that perhaps some people should know the answer to about the Ipswich.
Ipswich.
Oh no, I don't know. Where's Ipswich? Is it?
Just go back. Just go back one sign, one page. I think it was a spelling mistake in Ipswich.
Oh,
No, keep going back. I think it's referring. Yeah, there he is. Yep. Go back. Go forward. No, go forward. 2 more. Forward.
Oh, forward. Sorry.
Forward. There you go. Go back.
One?
Go back one more. There's no T in Ipswich.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there you go.
Ah, the one. What have you done? No, I was actually after the direction site.
No T.
Question to people.
Sorry, that was my error. I overlooked that. I fix that next time, I'm sure. Sorry. Good picked up. I deliberately put it there, see whether anyone picked it up.
So there's a thing in this sign about direction signing, and I'm talking about the white on blue patch. So can somebody tell us what's unique about that particular sign? Silence. Anybody? Nothing coming out in chat.
A bit subtle, so a bit hard to pick up, perhaps.
I think
or
airports are genuine blue, aren't they?
They are white on blue. Yes, blue for tourist info. Yep. Okay. Well, I'll give a hint. It's about the aeroplane symbol. So next time you drive around, and those who are at home can very quickly go onto Google and have a look at all these exits. You'll find that it's in the standard. The aeroplane must be in the same, facing the same direction as the exits.
I was going to say that.
Yeah. Yes. So if it was going straight ahead, the aeroplane would be pointing up. Yeah.
Yeah, so the plane's orientating the direction towards the airport.
Yes.
Yeah, no. I had a feeling it would be.
Yeah. All right.
And yeah, no, you're right, Rohit. I just checked my slide. I don't have some examples here, but yeah, have a look, because I have come across quite a few instances where the airplane symbol is pointing at the wrong direction. I pick up some.
Check some Victorian signs, will you?
Nah, I think there was one at Rockhampton too, Rohit. But yeah, no, I didn't include it in the presentation today. But yeah, I show you some next week. Sign numbering. So yeah, just some examples showing how signs are numbered in Queensland, so that when you order a sign, you know which one to how do you decipher the code and order the right one. So I probably won't spend more time on it. So any question at this stage about some of the principles and examples that we covered just now? Look at the screen. Yeah, blow in for you. That's right. International recognized. Yeah, now that airplane symbol is certainly international recognized. All right. Well, I keep going. So the next topic is about regulatory and warning sign. So just expanding further on this group of signs, and I probably will skip over some of, not skip, but kind of going quickly through some of these slides because they're fairly self-explanatory. I think it's more useful to look at some of the examples that I have later on. So I'll show you that in a minute. So yeah, regulatory sign, warning sign in particular, they always on yellow background. And the use of these signs, they are in the MUTCD Part 2, which, as Rohit has mentioned, is under review, and we are hoping to get the standard published later this year. So keep an eye on that one, because this is kind of the biggest part, and it's kind of the Bible for traffic engineering relating to sign and lines. Purpose, again, I probably won't dwell too much on this. It has regulatory meaning. If you fail to obey the regulatory signs, and then if there's a police person around, you will end up with a fine, which is specifying the road rules. So it's important to follow them. And there are different types, which I probably touched on earlier. You got intersection control, movement control, speed sign, parking. Well, parking council manage that, so it is a type of regulatory sign as well. Anyone working the parking group at council here, and let me know so that we can discuss some of the issue around parking enforcement, that kind of thing, which is always a bit of a challenging for council. Intersection control, you got give way, stop, and roundabout. And this is a screen that probably worth quickly going through, because there's a few kind of misunderstanding about the use of give way and stop sign. Now, if you look at the MUTCD Part 2, it clearly say that generally all intersections should be having give way sign, and you only make it the stop sign if there is a sight distance. If the sight distance is substandard, and on the screen there, showing how you work that out. You go back 3 meters from the intersection and you check to make sure those 2 areas are clear of any obstruction. And if there are obstruction like trees or houses that built too close to the intersection, then it meets the warrant, and only then you put in the stop sign. Because some of you, and me included, probably have come across situation where there may be near misses or crashes at the intersection, and the residents, write to council or the LT, sorry, not the LT, TMR, and then, people, just put in a stop sign. Well, the stop sign doesn't help reducing the number of crashes, and then it should only be used under this warrant. So don't use it to address a crash risk at the intersection.
I thought the warrant for a stop sign was also governed by the traffic flows as well, like the major and minor.
So looking at the screen there, you've got the major road and the minor road, but the traffic flow or traffic volume doesn't have any weight or any. It's not part of the decision making. It's purely based on sight distance.
Yeah, but how does that work when you've got a very heavy congested road and your reaction time is like 2 seconds, so you can't find a gap acceptance? People might be making dangerous moves trying to run the light, whereas they stop, then they can actually consider the traffic flow an acceptable gap.
Yep. Yeah, look, and I think that is probably one of the issue as well, which is the thing is, even with the give way sign, it doesn't mean that you don't have to stop. You still have to stop when you face a give way sign. And in your example, if you have a lot of traffic and congested, if you see a give way sign, it doesn't mean that you don't have to stop. The road rules clearly say that you still have to stop and give way to traffic. So yeah, and you touch on a very kind of another the topic that sometimes people use the stop sign for different purposes, but as I said, the give way sign doesn't mean that you don't have to stop. And actually, just sharing a quick story that one of the Standard Australia committee members, he's a traffic engineer for a long time. He actually did a bit of experiment. So there was one at the intersection that used to have a stop sign, which doesn't meet the warrant. And then he wrote to council, and then council replaced it with the give way sign. And he made some observation before and after. And he told us that actually with the give way sign, more people stop at the intersection than with the stop sign. So that was just one, I guess, example. It may not be a proper evaluation, but it does show that, with give way sign, if you use it appropriately, people will stop. It doesn't mean that they don't have to stop. They still have to stop and drive according to the road condition. So good point, Matt. Good point. But you only use a stop sign when and only when it meets the sight distance warrant as shown there on the screen and in the MUTCD Part 2. That's just some more information. Look, I probably skip that little screen for now. Some examples now showing different things that I see on the road network, and I'm just kind of sharing it. This is not far from the Suncorp Stadium. If anyone has any comments on this photo, feel free to put it in the chat screen, but anything not quite right here? Some of you are familiar with this location when you go to the stadium. Stacking sign, yeah, that's right, Kurt, absolutely right. On the right-hand side there, you got 3 regulatory signs stacking on one post. I assume that this location is managed by council. And correct, you're right, regulatory sign required on post. And look, I can kind of understand that council may say, all right, let's use that post, but yeah, it doesn't comply, does it? Brisbane City Council. Yeah, I think this is Brisbane City Council. Yeah, that it doesn't look right. Now this is an interesting one. Just quickly, can anyone guess where that is? It's the same type of stop sign that we see, but it's a different color. Look, it's probably a bit hard to guess, but I share just a quick story that I took this photo when I was in Hawaii, actually, for holiday a long time ago, and I was walking around and I saw this blue stop sign, and they also have the red stop sign. So I took a photo and they asked the people in the area, and the story is that similar to us, to use a standard stop sign, they need warrant or authorization from the Department of Transport. But at this location, they found it's too hard to get that approval. So to avoid that requirement, they just came up with a blue version and they just put it up themselves, just bypassing the road authorities. So I thought it was an interesting story. If when people want to do things, they will find ways to circumvent the requirements where they can. So that's the first ever only blue stop sign that I've seen. This example, anyone quickly see what's wrong with it? And this is not a Queensland one, this is the Melbourne one. Showing some sign at a roundabout. Anything unusual? Giveaway sign too low? Yeah, definitely. Don't know why it's too low. But anything else? No line marking the paved roundabout. Yes, that's right. Yep. It's a bit hard to paint to provide line marking on the paved area, but yep, that's a good one. Unidirectional instead of roundabout. Yeah, that's right, Raj. I think you're on the right track. So you normally have that sign should not be located. Yep, exactly. So regard is correct as well. So this roundabout sign is an intersection roundabout sign. It should be placed in advance of the roundabout as you approach a roundabout, not within the roundabout. And this is also wrong. This is a roundabout warning sign, which should be placed prior to approaching the roundabout, not at the roundabout. So council certainly mixed it up here. This regulatory roundabout sign should be placed here at as you enter the roundabout, not after, and other things as well, like incorrect height and all those sort of things. So yeah, look, I got a lot of these photos, and sometimes you're kind of just scratching your head and not quite understand why people do things a certain way. Yep, so I talk about that. Now this is in Brisbane, just an interesting one that I was here, and it appears that they're trying to make this a roundabout, and all they had was a painted, probably by the shop owner over here, the shopping centres operator. They just painted a circle in the end and some arrow, no signs, no line marking, no nothing. But it was there for a little while, and people seem to actually, obey this arrangement. They kind of recognize it. Oxley, yeah, it could be Oxley. Yep, I can't remember, to be honest, but yeah, I think somewhere there. And yeah, look, actually surprisingly, I saw people kind of just going around this circle. But I guess the risk is if there is an incident, a crash, then who's at fault, that kind of thing. Then you get into those sort of legal challenges and issue that and certainly this doesn't comply with a standard roundabout signing and pavement marking. Movement control, which we kind of touched on. Just want to point out the cones. Hopefully you guys been keeping an eye on a number of cones. So these sort of signs are used to manage movement control. And over here is the example of well, things not to do. Something that people send it to me when they see it. This is not in Australia, but I've got some other Australian examples I'll show you later on. But this is another example where the sign says no left turn, but then the next minute you say that, oh, you cannot turn left. Things that you see out there. Now this is some sign I saw when I drove around in Brisbane. Look, for me, I feel that this corner, this entrance, probably have a bit too many signs. I don't know. What do you think? You know, you got one way, like it's too many arrows. I thought that it might be sign cluttering. I mean, is there a particular reason why they repeat the one-way sign? And I mean, entry to a service road is one way anyway, isn't it? Like you don't normally have you know, it's unlikely that once you are in there, you somehow kind of turn around and get out that way. So I don't know the full story, but it's an example of yeah, something that to me I thought is a bit inconsistent. Another one I took. Any comments about this one? To me, it's a bit unclear. I mean, like you got a sign that talks about heavy vehicle and then no right turn. So I assume that the no right turn between 7 p.m. and 7 a.m. is applicable to heavy vehicle. They can't turn right because that kind of indicated over here. And then you got bus intolerant. Yeah, look, it to me when I first saw it, I thought it's a bit unclear. Another thing is working for council. You probably know that the word authorized may not mean much. My experience is yeah, authorized. You know, like I can tell somebody else that I authorize you to use that road, and it may still work. There is, as far as I'm aware, there is no legal definition of what authorized mean. So it can be challenged, I guess. It's the term that's sometimes been used to kind of scare people off rather than having any legal meaning. This one here, nothing wrong with it. I think I put it here just to show that we also have issue with international drivers, and at the standard committee, when we look at signs and we come up with new signs, we always try to use the symbols where possible, recognizing that not everyone is, you know, speaking and understanding English. So this is a sign, and we have it on a lot of tourist routes. I mean, I know that in Brisbane, New South Wales, and Victoria as well, the Great Ocean Road, we have a lot of these signs out there for non-English speaking people. And when they hear, they hide a car to drive, and if they usually drive on the other side of the road, this kind of reminding them that, look, in Australia, you drive on the left-hand side. Warning signs. I probably skip some of these signs since you've got it in your note to show you some examples, because yeah, look, I'm just conscious of time there. We don't have to go through them all. We can continue some of these slides next week. But warning sign can be used with insufficient sight distance. And I think in the Padlet, there was a question about signing for a flooding issue. There's not enough sight distance for a floodway. This is an example on the way to Mount Kuta, I think I took a few years ago, where it failed that one of the C as well, conspicuity, you know, placing sign behind trees. A common issue that I assume that council face as part of your work as well. intersection warning signs. One thing to note is the sort of intersection warning sign now have an arrowhead. Intersection warning signs, and you got the cone there. Look, I think I think I got a few more example, and then we probably call it today. I just double check. Yeah, I think I'll have a few more slides because I want to give everyone an opportunity to do a little quiz. Now this one here, I picked it up very recently. It's kind of 4 weeks ago. Can anyone quickly tell me what's wrong with it? I was pretty surprised and a little bit shocked that that they had this arrangement there. Anyone pick up anything? So if you look at this this approach, you've got an intersection warning sign with an arrowhead, indicating that you have the right of way. But actually, you will be facing a stop sign. Yeah, Kevin is correct. The priority road is in the wrong direction. Absolutely, Jason and Kevin. Tan as well. Yep. Oh, hang on. Warning on the electric pole. No, there's nothing wrong with having the sign mounted on the electricity pole. That's fine. The utility company usually quite okay with that, but it's more about wrong priority. And to me, this is quite dangerous because looking at that sign, it's telling drivers that they have the right of way. They can keep going because the arrowhead is facing the direction of travel. But then technically you don't. You have to stop. And the fact that they have the warning sign or stop sign ahead indicate that there may be people not stopping. And maybe because of that sign, you know, you tell mixed messages that you have right away, and then the next minute you don't. So I actually wrote to council, and in this case, they're pretty responsive. They said, yeah, look, you know, that was a mistake, and they're going to fix it. Some example I picked up in Rockhampton, I think. Warning sign, to me, this is a bit unnecessary. I mean, like as you approach this roundabout, you can clearly see a roundabout. And you've got the roundabout sign as well. This sign is only like 20 meters in front of a roundabout. I don't see a reason for having that sign. This one here is actually a good example as you approach the roundabout, because the crest, you actually can't see the roundabout. So they put in that sign. And then after the crest, you see the roundabout. So this was a good example of how the roundabout warning sign should be used. Another example of traffic signal warning sign. Again, to me, you can clearly see the traffic signal. You've got a mass arm as well. So, and it's only 80 meters or so. Too close, I don't think it is. It's a fairly straight road. Can't see how you miss it. This one here is probably borderline, marginal, because there's a bit of a crash, and I didn't have a photo just before, but the purpose is probably more for during peak hours. You may have a queue at the signals, and people may not see the end of queue, and whether that sign will help people recognizing that, I'm not sure. This is another interesting example showing how warning signs are used at various locations. This one is an interesting one because for the one on the left, because when I approached the intersection, I had to actually come around and took the photo. It's a bit strange arrangement how from a distance you see this arrow, and it seemed to give you some information that you can keep going. But technically, there's a stop sign right here that after the crest, you have to stop. So the placement of the arrow, the pavement arrow, to me is probably a bit misleading. This one here on the right. You've got an intersection warning sign, a curb warning sign, and some cams as well.
I think that one's got the vehicle activated slow down message below the left turn arrow.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, if you can see it there. So it is activated when you're traveling, approaching the curve too fast. I think the message will come up,
Yeah.
or is it? Yeah. So I've got a camera there. So this is an example of how some of the issue can be managed. And this could be the last one. I took this when I was in Rockhampton, I think. Anyone has any thought about this? I mean, it's pretty obvious, isn't it? It's a bit too late to have that T intersection warning sign at the intersection itself. And I can see that there's a bit of crest, but if you want to warn people of the T intersection, put it further back, not on top of the other sign. Okay, look, I think I stopped there. We reached our time, and we continue on at the next session. But before I let you go, I'd like you to do a quick quiz, actually. It's only 5 minutes, so that one of you can get a prize. So this is the, oh no, sorry, not that one. That is the quiz. Now, to play the quiz, I assume that you all have your computer or a smartphone in front of you. Go to this website, which actually I put into the chat screen. Actually, is a link. Is a link. There you go. Let me give the link. There you go. Copy link. All right. Click on that link if you are using the computer, and then you will be able to access a quiz. Let me launch it, and it just 7 or 8 questions, I think, about the topics that we will be covering. The topic that we just covered, and whoever get the question right in the quickest time will win a little prize. So I want everyone to have an opportunity to do this little quiz before we finish up, that's all. And sorry, we'll be going over a few minutes. I have launched the quiz. So can you access it? Let me share that screen. Oh, there you go. All right, you can see that there's a group of people already. 26, is that everyone? 27? Let me see, we got everyone. 28? Yeah, just click on the link that I put on the chat screen and you will be able to join. So the way it works is there's 7 questions, I think, and you have 20 seconds to answer them. And whoever got the most correct answer and quickest will win a prize. There you go. I think we got everyone, 32. All right, and make a start. All right, the safe system pillars, which Jared or someone correctly mentioned. Which one is not one of the safe system pillars? Whoa, everyone got it right. That's impressive. Said weather is certainly not the right one. What does NUTCD stand for? So Rohit will be disappointed if people don't know what NUTCD stand for. Oh, there you go. Most people got it right. Some people got it wrong. So yeah, it's a manual of uniform traffic control devices is the correct answer. Question 3. All right, I highlight this in red in the slide that the Rohit talked about. There is a section of the Transport Operation Act that requires traffic sign must be installed in accordance with MU's TCD. So this is a bit tricky one, but hopefully you remember. It's one of the first slides. Let's see who'll get it right. Wow, a lot of you got it right. This is amazing. This is really good. So section 72A. All right, next one. So which one of these is not one of the 7 signing principles? Not one of the 7 C's. All right, let's see. Wow, good. A lot of you got it right. A lot of you also don't get right. So credible is actually one of the principles. The sign needs to be credible to motorists. Remember that water overload message that I got off in the tunnel. I suddenly lost, lose credibility there when seeing that sign. What is the background color warning sign? So there are different color or different type of signs. Warning should be what color? Yellow. Good. Most of you got it right. Green is for direction sign, and brown is for tourist related sign. All right, so the stop sign should be used at intersection when? Yep, that's correct. Only when it's a site distance is substandard. So most of you got it right. Now, the next question is the last question, and it is about how many cones have you seen, have you picked up as part of the presentation. Now, because I skipped a couple of slides, we didn't have enough time to go through them, I'm just double checking. So whatever the number of cones that you counted, you just need to add one more, okay? So whatever the number of cones that you counted, just add one more to it. That will give you the right answer. All right, so I think that's the question. Question is the number of cones, whatever you counted, add one more. All right, ready? Okay. Everyone got it? Hopefully you paid attention throughout the session. Remember to add one. Okay. There's an equal to 7 and 8. Look, there are 8. So you should have picked up 7, but if you add 1 to it, you should get 8, which is the right answer. Okay, let's see who's the winner who got the most correct answer in the quickest time. Craig, by the look of it, Craig is the winner today. Well done, Craig. Well done. So Emma, make a note of that.
Yeah, I sure have. Congratulations, Craig. A prize is coming your way.
All right, let me just exit this to stop the music. But okay, so look, that's the end of our first sessions. I'm sorry we went a bit over time, but we will continue next week. As I said, in the meantime, if you have any question, issues, or anything you'd like to discuss next week, go to that Padlet with the link there. I've seen 2 kind of comments in there. Feel free to add them so that we can talk a bit more about it next week. I will be hanging around a little bit more, so if anyone have any burning questions or anything that you'd like to talk about, hang around and we can have a chat. Other than that, yeah, thanks for joining us for today's session. Yeah, hope you have a good rest of the day and the weekend as well. So yeah, great, fantastic. Anything else, Emma, we need to mention?
No, I don't think so. We just look forward to seeing you all next Tuesday.
All right, thanks. And Rohit, all good? Anything else from Rohit?
Mate, all good. I think it was a very good session. A little bit over time, but that's okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
We'll work on that.
All right. Thanks, everyone. See you next week.
Thanks, Tuan. Thanks, Rohit. See you, everyone.
Yeah.
Anyone else hanging around for any burning questions? You're on mute. I can't hear you, Emma.
Looks like everyone's gone. So
It looks like there's one. Sudhir.
Sudhir
is there, but he's muted. So if he's asking a question, we can't hear him.
Sudhir, you there? Anything from you, or you
There's
just
only
haven't
4.
blocked off? Yeah, so you, me,